Welcome to the Market Rundown. This is Matt Bennett, grain marketing consultant with Channel, and I'm here to talk about the quarterly stocks and planning intentions, prospective plannings, if you will. A huge report that is typically heavily anticipated every year, and that it tells us what's the U.S. producer intending on planning for the year. So we're going to go over three main points that I came out with. First of all, corn acres, kind of a bullish surprise lower. Bean acres were a bit of a bearish surprise higher. And then the quarterly stocks actually showed really good usage for corn. And so first of all, you look at this corn number. The Outlook Forum came out in February from the USDA and said 92 million acres of corn, 88 million acres of beans. It made sense. They thought that last year's 93 and 87 corn and beans, that gap would be bridged a little bit, partially because of fertilizer, but they still felt like we'd plant a lot of corn and soybeans. My personal opinion was always that wheat acres were going to be stronger, cotton acres are going to be stronger. Everyone is vying for the acres, but that it would be really tough to get substantially more corn acres than bean acres this year due to the fact that fertilizer was so strong. And so this corn number comes in at 89.5. It was below all trade guesses for the report. The lowest that we saw was just a shade under 90. And there were people that were thinking we'd have 93.5 million acres of corn. So very friendly number as far as corn's concerned. Look over at the soybeans. We had a 91 million acre forecast for planting intentions for beans. That would be an all-time record for the U.S. Now, there were some estimates that were above 91, but by all means, it was towards the high end of the range. And so I think a lot of folks on the initial outset were just absolutely shocked. Now, there have been some surveys that have shown the producer intended to plant more beans than corn. A lot of people kind of threw cold water on that, didn't think that that would come to pass, but USDA comes out today and says, actually, we feel like based on the producer survey that was sent out as of March 1st, that the U.S. producer is going to plant more beans than corn. And obviously, it's not something that we've seen happen by any stretch of the imagination. It's not something that happens often for sure. Look over at the stocks numbers, and actually for corn, I mean, very interesting that, we came in very close to the estimates. So most people were thinking 150 to 200 million bushels more corn on hand. And we're halfway through the marketing year because the marketing year is going to start, in the last quarter of the previous year. And so we're halfway through the marketing year. And we've got about 150 million bushels more corn than what we had a year ago on this date. Now, it's important to note that considering we raised a billion bushel bigger crop than what we did in 2020. So the fact that we only have another 150 million bushels of corn sitting around tells us that demand is actually very strong. It may even be stronger than what it was a year ago. Obviously, prices have been pretty high, but it hasn't scared demand away to any large tune. So definitely a friendly report, in my opinion, especially whenever it comes to corn for stocks. So again, my three takeaways here for the market rundown is that corn acres were low, bullishly low. Bean acres were bearishly high, and then the stocks numbers showed really good, strong demand. All three of those things are going to have a pretty big impact moving forward as far as price direction is concerned. So again, this has been Matt Bennett, grain marketing consultant with Channel, with the market rundown. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them at the bottom of this page, or you could sign up for the newsletter at channel.com. And through that avenue, you can certainly communicate with me as well. So thanks again for tuning in.